welcome everyone. This is a collaboration between the Los Alamos Teen Center and the Youth Activities Center and Los Alamos STEAM Lab working on game design. What I am hoping is that this will be a long-term collaboration and we'll continue to have speakers like this alongside of a collaborative Discord environment where people can share their ideas, their code snippets, and we can move forward making some really cool stuff with a lot of support. So if you haven't checked it out already, I have a bunch of documentation and that is pinned in the announcements room in the game design. And that documentation will walk you through some basics of creating a Godot top-down RPG. If you follow that along, you'll have a template at the end that will provide you with a very basic RPG game. If you are not good at coding, if you are not interested in coding, this is still a place for you. We'll discuss various ideas about developing a story, creating the artwork, and all sorts of things. I really would like this to end up with some of y'all pairing up as you're interested in it so that we can hook up some of the coders with some of the people who are more interested in the story, or people who want partners to work with, all sorts of things like this. A lot of this stuff is just easier if you have someone pushing you into new ideas and things like that. And again, even if you want to work through this on your own, the Discord channel is still about pushing you to new ideas and having people to bounce things off of and really develop some of that creative energy, as buzzwordy as that sort of word is. So we are starting things off with Erin Green, who is a co-owner and co-founder of Los Alamos STEAM Lab, and she can tell you more of her details, but she does a lot of this story development as a side gig with friends and various things like this, as well as does her own other story type things. And she'll get into that at the end. There'll be loads of time for questions and working through and bouncing off ideas, sharing ideas, and all sorts of Godot-like questions as well. Speaking of which, if you are working your way through the coding tutorials and you have questions about any of it, don't wait until our Wednesday meetups. Please feel free to shoot me any questions you have in the text channels throughout the week. And that's enough for me. Erin, you may get started.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Liz, for inviting me to come and talk. I'm pretty excited. I really love story building. I really love gaming. I really love engaging in a well-built storyline in a game. I'm a big fan of RPGs, and like Liz said, I am a founder of STEAM Lab, and I'm really excited to be getting back to some STEAM Lab stuff. I'm going to go ahead and apologize. My oldest daughter is in an Irish dance class today, and you might hear some Irish music in the background. It is St. Patrick's Day, so I suppose that's appropriate. But don't be alarmed if you're hearing random Celtic music. It's not in your head, it's in my background. So like Liz said, today I'll be teaching or speaking a little bit about developing characters, developing a story, building a world, and developing tension in a video game. Or if you are not interested in game design, this is completely applicable as well to story writing. If you like to play tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, this is also applicable if you are interested in DMing those types of games. Or just for yourself, for your own character development. I play D&D every Saturday with some friends, and my character is one of my favorite people. She's just fun. So if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask them out loud. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, go ahead and put them in the chat, and Liz will let me know, and we'll hopefully be able to have a nice discussion as well as me just talking and sharing my slides. So hopefully this won't take up my entire screen. Oh, fun. It's going to take up my entire screen. So I hope you guys can see this. I can't see you anymore. So definitely just give a shout if you can't see this. But I'm going to go ahead and just move through the slides and I'll rely.
I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it.
Okay, we
Yeah, I
can't
only see you.
see them though. So maybe hop out to Aaron, I could see it. So I think it's an issue with hopping out to the tiled and then clicking watch stream up in the left corner.
Okay. See,
you finding it?
That. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Aaron, you're muted again.
Why?
There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. All right.
I don't know if it's something with your mic because you're not always showing as muted when you're moving your mouth is we don't have sound.
Actually, I have sound the whole time.
Okay,
perfect.
You
had sound?
So maybe it's just me. Or maybe it's Discord's getting laggy on us. Perfect.
All right, let's see if I can make this work. I wonder if it's not, but you guys can you see this now?
I can see it both times. So
yeah.
Okay, so you guys can see the big picture that says finding your story with little cute guys on it, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so finding your story. Welcome. We already did all this. Okay, so some objectives of story writing. I'd like to start with characters. Characters that are three-dimensional are more interesting. And think about some people in your life, some friends or family, maybe your siblings. What makes them interesting and what makes them boring? All people are boring sometimes, right? That's okay. So characters in books and games, what makes them interesting are sometimes these small little personality traits. Think maybe the reader or the gamer doesn't know about them, but the author builds that into who this person is when they are creating them. And maybe like I don't know specifically that Lara Croft like hates broccoli, right? But if her creator knows, that's something that comes up in little subtle ways while I'm engaging with this character. So if you think about your favorite video games, what kind of characters made that game interesting? Even NPCs in a game have things about them that make them interesting. And sometimes you'll see these things recycled over and over again. I don't know if any of you have played any of the Elder Scrolls games or Dragon Age. Some of the NPCs, you'll have the same types of interactions and maybe they'll have different physical appearances, but there's like a running joke about some of the Elder Scrolls NPCs using the same line over and over again of I used to be an adventurer until I took an arrow to the knee. And even, go ahead.
And right, this might have been what you were about to say, so I'm sorry, but you also want the characters to actually respond to what the player does. Like in Skyrim, you can spend hundreds of hours ending the Civil War quest line, and then the only thing that changes is people sit in different places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that can be frustrating for a gamer, for sure. So the NPCs' reactions, what saves time when you're creating a game is definitely those sort of shortcuts of just putting people in different spots or changing their physical appearance and they have the same lines. So it's definitely something to consider from both perspectives. The gamers, a reward, for hours and hours it would be, you've unlocked a different set of lines or objectives. So those are all really important points. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, like it's definitely frustrating to spend hours and hours and then nothing changes. So think of your favorite characters, even your favorite NPCs, and what do you know about them? And how does that knowledge that you have inform how you interact in this world? I know I'm blanking on the game. Maybe you guys can help me. It's an older one where you're an adventurer and you're moving through the world, and you can be like mean to people, and it changes the way they interact with you in the story. And you can even form relationships with some of these NPCs by being nice to them or being mean to them. And what happens is when you go to other parts of the world, if you're mean, there will be like posters of you that's like, oh, watch out for this criminal, or things like that. And so what you know about these characters interacting with you and the world itself, and how you're enjoying the story, it really helps create like an entire immersive picture. So even games like Fortnite, which are not story driven, they incorporate characters from other video games that are story driven, and that motivates people to engage in the gameplay. And then they have original characters like Agent Jones, who does have some unique characteristics. And I don't know if many of you watched the new season that launched yesterday. We got to see a little bit more about Agent Jones and how he's interacting with the world, and some other new original characters that we'll hopefully get to learn some more about soon. So the next thing is building a world. And the concept of world building can be really overwhelming when you're thinking about games like Skyrim that have just never-ending worlds, or even like The Witcher, whose map is layered. So you're in one place and then you move out of there and there's a whole other map on top of that. So it's easy to feel overwhelmed when you're starting out. How do I make an engaging world? How do I make an interesting world? And an exercise that I would love to do with you guys, if you have the supplies. If you don't worry. I didn't let Liz know that there would be supplies needed. So it's we'll go over that in a minute, but building a world can be as easy as starting with the world that you already know, starting with what you have interacted in your own life. If you like hiking, or if you like kayaking, things in New Mexico, if you grew up here, or if you didn't grow up here and you grew up in another area, like what parts of the area did you like exploring, and how could you recreate that in your game or in your story? Was it fun or challenging? The way the characters interact with the world is also a part of the story. So in a sense, the world itself is another character. In what ways does the world help your character? If your character is a magic user, do they need to meditate to build up mana? Do they need energy from the trees or the plants or the rocks? Things like that. What helps them and what harms them, or what is challenging? If they're someone who needs water to use their magic, are they moving through a desert? How are they going to overcome that challenge? So here's the exercise. If you have dice, any dice, can be from like a board game, just like regular six-sided, or if you have dice from a tabletop RPG. I have mine in an annoying little baggie that's right here, and then a blank piece of paper. And I'll give you guys maybe like 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and see if you can find, and it doesn't have to be dice. It could be like any object that's like small. Like I have this tiny little unicorn guy on my desk. If you have little stuff like that you can use on a blank piece of paper and like a pencil or a pen, just any, or a marker, like any writing tool. It shouldn't be too complicated. It's just like a fun low key exercise.
Or if any of y'all can give me the quick name of a dice spot, I can add that to our channel as well. I'm just not finding one quickly enough.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Okay, so if you have the supplies, awesome. If you don't, but you could get them later, that's cool too. We don't have to do it like all together, but I'm just going to run through the exercise, and hopefully it's fun and you guys might want to do it later. So I like to take all my dice in 1 or 2 hands and then just like randomly drop them on my piece of paper and let them sort of settle wherever they are. And then I'll take a pen or a marker and I'll just draw around the outline of where those dice have landed. And that would be the shape of my world or my continent. You can do this multiple times for different continents if your world has more than one, or if you're just like thinking of one landmass, then one is just fine. It's really just never ending. You can be as creative or not, however you feel like. So I draw the outline and then I look at what dice have landed there. So I have like a D20 up in the let's see, that's like northwest. And so maybe that's where my mountains live. And then I have a 6-sided die down in the south, and maybe there's a gulf. And there is a D4 over here in the east, and so maybe that's where the desert is. And so I'll just sort of like write those landmarks next to the dice, and then I'll take the dice off the map. And then you can do it again, like if you assigned each dice a specific landmark, say you want your D6 to be, or your D8 to be like a city, or like the suburbs, like it could be as specific or non-specific as you want, and then roll those dice again over and over until you've sort of filled in your map. And this exercise, the pressure off having to plan it all out in your head and keep track of all the moving parts. And it's just fun. And this doesn't have to be, this could just be like a for fun way to get your brain going. And then if you want to be more complex and more involved past this, you don't have to keep doing, like, it doesn't have to be what you decide, like the final thing. It's just sort of like an ever evolving option that can help get the creative juices moving in your mind. And so some examples and illustrations of the characters, the world, and the tension. So for your characters, you want to really think about those silly little things. Like, are they allergic to something? So for this character I was playing with, when I kind of was writing these slides, I thought, they're allergic to chickens, like physical chickens, right? But they can still eat chicken meat, but maybe something about being around the feathers, or maybe it's their poop. They just can't be with chickens. And that would be kind of funny, right? Someone throws a chicken at them during the battle and it's like, we're done. And it's kind of random. And they hate broccoli, or they always fight first and ask questions later. They're just full on melee. They don't really take the time to survey the area or talk to people. They're just sort of like, yeah, we'll just deal with it. We'll see what happens. It's fine. That's definitely how I play video games. I kind of just run in with my swords out or guns out or whatever platform I'm using. The world. So
wait, Aaron, can we pause for just a second?
Sure,
Can
of
we
course.
share some of the fun, weird traits that people have found in video games that they like? Like, for instance, I still think it's bizarre that the Mario Brothers are plumbers, and that sometimes that comes up in really weird ways.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that is so funny. I'd love to hear more from other people for sure. Yeah, sometimes I think about their plumbing skills and I wonder, where did you go? Where did you get certified to do the things you do? That doesn't seem like it's up to code, but okay.
Anyone else have any NPCs that just their weird little traits come out in different ways, or characters, or enemies, or whatever?
Not an NPC, but Mario, his first game that he appeared in was actually the Donkey Kong games, which came first, and he was the enemy. He was abusing Donkey Kong for money.
No.
So,
oh my gosh.
So on the other hand, I think
Sorry.
of Donkey Kong and think of the fact that it's bizarre that Donkey Kong started out as the bad guy who was blowing everything up and turned into the character, the good guy character.
He was just trying to escape from Mario. He was just
Ah.
trying to escape. He didn't do anything wrong.
Or Donkey Kong.
That's actually something we joke about in Zelda, especially Breath of the Wild, is we like to reimagine Zelda as a nice peaceful world with oppressive people trying to beat down the bokoblins who don't do anything until you attack them. In general, and they're super defensive and aren't doing anything wrong, but we've gone and destroyed their lives.
Oh no. I remembered the
Any other,
game I was talking about. It was Fable. The one I don't know, it's an older game, so some of you guys might not be familiar with it, but Fable is a game where you can form relationships with the NPCs by either like being mean to them or being nice to them. You can like marry them. It's really interesting. And I think about The Witcher.
My favorite game series.
Wait,
go ahead.
Just a second, Aaron.
Yeah.
In my favorite game series, Danganronpa, all of the characters are built around having an ultimate talent, which is really cool. So they're all high schoolers, but they all have ultimate talents. Like there's the ultimate pop star and the ultimate martial artists and stuff, which is really interesting, especially because sometimes they have character traits that you wouldn't think go with that. And so it's really interesting to have like the ultimate martial artist be really scared of people, or something like that that's really subversive. And sometimes they're exactly what you would think, which is not a bad thing either, because it's also interesting, and how they interact with each other is really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Yeah, we've got someone also noting that it's weird that in the Mario universe, there's a cult of plumbers and weird mushroom people that are attacking turtles and bugs.
That's true. Yeah. What did the turtles ever do?
Okay, feel free to move on when you are ready, Aaron, but I thought it'd be nice to think about some of those details.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Those details are they can be really important, and they kind of make the characters more endearing to the player. Like I like to play the Witcher games, and Geralt is always taking a bath. Like anytime he gets an opportunity, he just really likes baths, and I think that's it just makes him more interesting because he's a super tough kind of guy who's always dirty from fighting in like mud, and then he's like, no, I just really like baths. So that's cool. Yeah, I like that exercise. And I also remembered like Samus. I remember when I was in college, I think, and Samus was revealed to be female. And that was like a huge huge thing. Like, people were shocked. They were like, what? It's been a girl in that suit this whole time. So that was kind of cool. So, yeah, back to the slide. Let's see. I think we're on B, the world. So thinking of your world as a character in itself and how that world interacts with the people in the game. Mountains and forests can be sort of like part of their traits. If the forest is full of plants that emit a deadly gas, that's an interesting trait. But at the center of the forest is a pond with water that makes anyone who swims in it immune to the gas. So how is your character going to get through? If they need to get through the forest, how do they get to the pond? Do they want to get to the pond? Or can they purchase items like a gas mask or protective gear from a city that's nearby? And then are those things...
You could also have the pond have a secret downside that you don't know about until you sleep in the pond.
Right. Yeah. So it's like a compromise, like you get this one good thing, but what's the cost? And so these are things to think about, and how they interact with each other is really important to the game. And tension can be positive or negative. So what is the thing that moves your character to engage in the world? Was it a positive event in their life? Like, I know this isn't a game. Well, it is a game, but it's like meta because it's a show and a card game and a video game. But anyway, Pokemon, nothing bad ever happened to Ash except maybe his mom marrying Mr. Meeseeks. Or no, that's from a Mr. Mime. Mr. Meeseeks is from a Rick and Morty. Yeah, you guys maybe don't watch Rick and Morty. It's for grown-ups. But Ash didn't really have anything bad happen to him. He's just excited. His motivation is positive. His tension to catch all the Pokemon is positive. Whereas other characters in video games, like Zelda, like Link, bad things have happened to them. And so their tension is negative and they're motivated by that to make the world a safer place. Or like in Kingdom Hearts, Sora wants to defeat the Heartless to protect his friends. So that's positive and negative at the same time. And it can be one or the other. It can be both, or it can even be neutral. You can have neutral tension as well. And so those are all things to keep in mind. So this is a tension activity. You can write this down or you can save it for later. But these questions are helpful. What moves your character? Are they extremely lazy? Are they seeking revenge or justice? Or are they food motivated? I think one of my favorite characters from an anime is just super lazy. And they just don't want to be bothered with challenging things. But they're actually really good at those challenging things. And the only reason why they're good at them is because they want to get it over with really quickly so they can get back to doing nothing, which I relate to on a personal level. So I find that to be a really interesting character trait. How will your character interact with the world on their quest? And again, that goes back to the world being a character itself. And what things your character might need to get through the different areas or the different aspects, and maybe they don't need things. Maybe they need to let go of things. Maybe there's something that's holding them back that they can't take with them. And then will the world help them or harm them? Will they meet other people? Is this a single person quest or a single character quest, or are they gonna have people in their party? One of my favorite things about the game Dragon Age is you meet different people and you can add them to your party, but you're only allowed to have 4 people at a time. So you maybe meet 8 people, but you can swap them out at different save points in the game. So you want to think about, where am I going? Where is my character going? Where is the story going? And which people are the most helpful in that environment. Do they need a bard? Do they need a thief? Do they need a tank, a warrior? And how will those traits matter to the story? So if you guys want to share any thoughts on these questions, like now is a great time to do that. I can stop talking for a minute.
My character is saving all the blob characters in the entire world.
That sounds fun.
So one, you mentioned all of these sidekicks, and we've had a couple of questions about whether or not this sort of thing applies to side scrollers. And one thing I'll note is that Super Paper Mario does a really good job of having contributing characters as well, with the sprites that come up that have different activities. So instead of giving Mario tools, instead he gives them I'm not coming up with the names of them, but they're essentially sprites that float around and have different skills that they can do that you need to interact with. So you've got your set of Mario tools, and then you also have your set of helper characters. So all of this stuff applies outside of a typical RPG game as well.
Also in Super Mario, you unlock Luigi, Peach, and Bowser, who also you can trade out with as well. And they have special abilities too.
Truth, I forgot about them.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were talking about. I was very confused, but now I remember the wispy things too.
Yeah, those are excellent points. The side-scrolling games definitely have a little bit of a different approach, but these characters can pop up while you're moving through, and they can have information, they can have hints for really challenging levels, or you can swap them out, and you get this special ability for that level, and then you reset as soon as you finish it. I think sometimes about like Animal Crossing, which seems sort of like an advanced side scroller, because you don't have a 360 camera, you just sort of pan through, and even though it has like a three-dimensional quality, the characters interact with the player, and they give you like stuff sometimes, or emotions, like you get to react to something, like you can make a different face, and so that's also kind of fun. Depending on the style and the context of your game.
What do you think the tension is in Animal Crossing?
Tom Nook wanting his mortgage payment? No.
That was our joke, is that finance is your boss.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's just like a lot of jokes about Tom Nook and his motivations, and how he's like the captain of a pyramid scheme of island colonization so he can provide a good life for Timmy and Tommy.
We have agreement from the chat. We also are constantly wondering whether the humans are the indentured servants or the animals are the indentured servants on this island, and exactly how the dynamic works, and who is taking advantage of the other, or if it's mutually symbiotic abuse that's going on there.
I find it great that the animals are like, hey, I wanted to leave, and you're like, no leaving, and they're like, well, I guess I'll stay. Yeah.
I know, they're so disappointed. They're always so sad. I just told one of my animals they couldn't leave the other night. I was like, no, you have to live here with me forever. Like, it was super messed up, not autonomous, but
we have slight disagreement from the chat with the villagers just walk around, but the player has to pay to live there.
Right? Yeah, that's true. Got to sell those turnips. There's a super funny YouTube video. Someone made their animals, it's like a zoo, and they built little fences around their animals' houses so the animals can't move out. Like they can't get out of their yard. And you walk through it like a zoo. Like it was so like funny, and they have people visit, and you'll have to wear the same outfit when you visit, so you look like little kids on a field trip going through the zoo. It was
This
really
isn't the guy who
hilarious.
does the horror films, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I've seen that guy. Yeah, I don't know that it's the same guy. I hope not. I hope I've not just directed you all to horrifying YouTube
Oh no,
videos.
it's all good. Okay.
All right. So this is a short 5-minute clip. I don't know if 5 minutes is really a clip, but this is a little short video about fictional worlds and characters that I thought I would share. If you guys aren't familiar with some of the people they reference, just ask and we'll totally sort of explain some more about who they are. But I'm going to go ahead and push play.
I can't hear the video.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was me that time. Can you turn the volume up on it, way up on it, Erin?
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way to share sound. Because, like, I know on Zoom you share sound. Let me see if I can right click. Anything? No?
If you have headphones on, those will cause problems.
Yeah, got headphones on. You guys can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Or did that go away too? All right, I can try turning the volume up. If it doesn't work, I will post the link in.
So I think what Maddie was suggesting is that you might need to unplug your headphones so that your speaker volume can be heard by us.
All right, let me try that. All right, can you guys hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you like really quietly. It's because my speakers are terrible. All right, let me know if it works this time.
It's working for me.
J.R.R.'s world, Gandalf is one of 5 wizards sent by the Valar to guide the inhabitants of Middle-earth in their struggles against the dark forces Sauron. Gandalf's body was mortal, subject to the physical rules of Middle-earth, but his spirit was immortal, as seen when he died as Gandalf the Grey and resurrected as Gandalf the White. According to the Wachowski script, an awakened human only has to link up and hack the neon binary code of the Matrix to learn how to fly a helicopter in a matter of seconds. Or if you are the one, or one of the ones, you don't even need a helicopter. You just need a cool pair of shades. Cheshire cats can juggle their own heads. iPads are rudimentary. No Quidditch match ends until the golden snitch is caught. And the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is most certainly 42. Just like real life, fictional worlds operate consistently within a spectrum of physical and societal rules. That's what makes these intricate worlds believable, comprehensible, and worth exploring. In real life, the law of gravity holds 7 book sets of Harry Potter to millions of bookshelves around the world. We know this to be true, but we also know that ever since J.K. typed the words wizard, wand, and Wingardium Leviosa, that law of gravity has ceased to exist on the trillions of pages resting between those bookends. Authors of science fiction and fantasy literally build worlds. They make rules, maps, lineages, languages, cultures, universes, alternate universes within universes, and from those worlds sprout story after story after story. When it's done well, readers can understand fictional worlds and their rules just as well as the characters that live in them do, and sometimes just as well or even better than the reader understands the world outside of the book. But how? How can human made squiggles on a page reflect lights into our eyes that send signals to our brains that we logically and emotionally decode as complex narratives that move us to fight, cry, sing, and think, but are strong enough not only to hold up a world that is completely invented by the author, but also to change the reader's perspective on the real world that resumes only when the final squiggle is reached? I'm not sure anyone knows the answer to that question, yet fantastical fictional worlds are created every day in our minds, on computers, even on napkins at the restaurant down the street. The truth is, your imagination and a willingness to figuratively live in your own world are all you need to get started writing a novel. I didn't dream up Hogwarts or the Star Wars Cantina, but I have written some science thrillers for kids and young adults. Here are some questions and methods I've used to help build the worlds in which those books take place. I start with a basic place and time. Whether that's a fantasy world or a futuristic setting in the real world, it's important to know where you are and whether you're working in the past, present, or future. I like to create a timeline showing how the world came to be, what past events have shaped the way it is now. Then I brainstorm answers to questions that draw out the details of my fictional world. What rules are in place here? This covers everything from laws of gravity, or not, to the rules of society and the punishments for individuals who break them. What kind of government does this world have? Who has power and who doesn't? What do people believe in here? And what does this society value most? Then it's time to think about day to day life. What's the weather like in this world? Where do the inhabitants live and work and go to school? What do they eat and how do they play? How do they treat their young and their old? What relationships do they have with the animals and plants of the world? And what do those animals and plants look like? What kind of technology exists? Transportation, communication, access to information. There's so much to think about. So spend some time living in those tasks and the answers to those questions, and you're well on your way to building your own fictional world. Once you know your world as well as you hope your reader will, set your characters free in it and see what happens. And ask yourself, how does this world you created shape the individuals who live in it? And what kind of conflict is likely to emerge? Answer those questions, and you have your story. Good luck, future world builder.
So I know that that video is in context of books, but you can also apply a lot of those questions that she asked and things that she shared when building a video game. And I just remembered another side scroller is Cuphead. I don't know if any of you have played Cuphead, but that's sort of a modern take on
I
side
have.
scrolling video games.
I've played Cuphead. North Star is adamantly agreeing from the chat as well. And this is super silly, but the other side scroller that's kind of fun, and it's 10 years old now. It's way over 10 years old now. No, it's not. Never mind. Anyway, is Kirby's Epic Yarn, because I like it as a side scroller that is not at all side to side. It is very up and down, left and right, left and right, and your whole map is a maze. So it kind of undoes this notion that a side scroller has to be side scrolling, for lack of a better term.
Okay, can you guys hear me again? Sorry.
Yes.
I plugged my headset back in and then I had to go out of the presentation to give it permission. Yeah, Kirby's Epic Yarn is a really fun game. Another fun game that's pretty old. Well, there's two, but you guys can still find them. There's this game called Fez, and you have to buy it on like an iPhone. But it's so fun. It's a puzzle game, and it's side-scrolling style. It's incredible. You should all play Fez. And then
Oh, Fez is on Steam too, someone's saying.
oh, is it on? Oh, cool. That's awesome. Another fun one is Braid. It's called Braid, and I think that's probably about 10 years old, or older. But that is another really fun puzzle, side-scrolling, and you have NPCs that give you information and then helpful tasks like items, and yeah, Braid is super fun. So you guys should go look for Braid as well. I'm not sure where it's available anymore because it was like in the Xbox arcade when we had an Xbox 360, but now it's like the new Xbox that I already forgot what it was, but somebody called it like Phil or something because it has a popped collar. Or no, they called it Chad because he looks like he has a popped collar. Okay. Or no, oh, that's the PS5. My partner was just reminding me the PS5 looks like it has a popped collar. All right, so I just have one more slide. The recap, for lack of a better word. Dynamic characters have positive and negative and neutral traits. World building, remember that your world is a character. And tension. So tension is motivational or avoidant, meaning maybe your character is avoiding something as a part of their motivation towards or away from the tension. And that's it. That's all my slides. So we can do questions and discussion now if you guys are into that. Yeah.
We're having a little mini discussion in the chat about what type of game Minecraft is considered. We have RPG, perspective, and sandbox are being tossed out.
I second sandbox.
I would say sandbox. I think that was how it was originally built. Back in the day when it was on Steam.
So do any of you guys have games in mind that you're looking to start, styles of games, sort of plot lines in the back of your head? Do you want to kind of run them by, even if it's just, hey, I have this like idea for this one piece of this game that I think would be really interesting? Feel free to run them by through voice or chat, and maybe we can workshop them or comment on them. Does that sound good, Erin?
Yeah, that sounds great.
I have an idea that would be really hard, but what if the game's character, the character that you played as, changed because of what you did? Like, if you like forward rolled a bunch of times, they got like broader shoulders, and they got like a perk for that, or like they could roll faster or something.
That is super enjoyable, and I don't think it would be as hard to code as you think it was, because you just add it a little bit at a time. So like in Godot, you can swap out your sprite textures. So it would be annoying because you'd have to have a whole new set of textures for each kind of character trait and all of the overlapping character traits. But then that's what variables are for, right? You increase your max speed variable or your speed variable based on all of these things. And so having that in mind as you're writing the code, like you don't have to write the code to accommodate that sort of trait immediately, but knowing that you want to add that sort of trait affects how you write your code to be flexible enough to create the ability to have those all be variable traits.
And it sounds really fun. I want to roll faster.
Yes, we have one saying he's been thinking about Minecraft and Super Mario Bros. Games mostly, and then another that is, so if you fell in traps a lot, you got the perk that allowed you to take 70% less damage from traps. And I really like that one because I'm a really bad gamer. Like, I enjoy all of the puzzles, but my skill set is very low. So I enjoy
And-
like Zelda because I can buy all of the gear that makes my skill set less important. And I even more enjoy the fact that if I fell in trap, I would eventually get something from it.
My gaming skills are also pretty bad. Like my combat skills are pretty bad. I'm decently good at like parkour in games.
Yeah, I'm bad at it all.
Well, I find I'd say I'm pretty good, but what I like doing is when I replay games, I do it so much better, which is what I really enjoy. Like the first time I do it, I suck, and then the second time I do it, I finish the boss that much faster, and then if I do it again, I finish it that much faster, which I find really fun.
Yeah, we have a comment that Minecraft is a nice, like, combat's hard without building armor, and so you do add some of this sort of trait things to it.
Yeah, I want to build a
Uh,
game Oh, you go first.
Okay, yeah, but Minecraft, if you get into commands, you can make armor that like increases your speed. I kind of know how to do that. Really the only game I play is Minecraft and Overwatch. Those are like the only two.
Well, I'm interested in making a Hollow Knight game, which is like a platformer side scroller, but again, it's in like 2 dimensions, so there's lots of up and down as well. But what I like is that the levels don't change. It's one big map that just gets bigger and bigger as you go. And there's like, I guess they kind of change because like sometimes, onto a new screen because it would be insane to have that all going at once from like a coding perspective. But like, there's not stop and start and stop and start. It's one continuous thing that you go this way and then you find something that unlocks something back over here, which unlocks something down here, which unlocks something up there, which I think is really cool.
There's another game that is a really good example of that. You're a yarn person. My kids have played it. What's Unraveled, yeah. That's a good game. And that's like an example of what you were talking about, Lily, where it just gets bigger. You just keep going and it just gets bigger around you. And it's really interesting.
Well, I will take note to play that. I think Ori and the Blind Forest does a thing, but I haven't, so I can't play that.
That's a beautiful game. That whole game is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one. What's the princess one? Child of Light. That's another fun side scroller that's like up and down. But if you liked Ori, you would like this. And it's turn-based. So it's sort of like a combination of side-scrolling and turn-based with party members. So it's a good example of like the potential that side-scrolling games have.
Does anybody else have any character kind of ideas that they have in mind, or world ideas? Just something that either you really enjoyed about another game that you'd like to replicate in a different way on your own, or something completely that you haven't really interacted with yet?
I have a lot of world and character things.
Do you want to share any of them?
Okay. So my main character is a blob, and as I said earlier, he's saving all the blob crackers because somebody stole them. And essentially, you run around and get a sword from each world through various tasks. And once you have a sword, you put it into a pedestal thing, and then that creates a bridge, but you still need an animal friend to unlock some sort of barrier, be it a NPC or an actual gate at the end of each bridge, which I created so that you have to kind of slow down and play the game instead of just speed running through it, because you have to actually get the animal, not just the sword.
Perfect.
That sounds really fun. You would probably like World of Goo or Slime Rancher to explore and get more inspiration for your game. I think you could play World of Goo on a PC.
I think it's everywhere. I mean, I think you could play it on the old Wii, and now you can play it on iPads and PCs, and they land lots of places.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'll be able to do it anytime soon, but at some point.
I actually have World of Goo on my iPad.
Let Lily start here.
Yeah, I really want to build a game like Danganronpa, but I know I need to be a better writer for that because it's mostly a story with some gameplay as opposed to a game with some story in it. But I aspire to build something that cool one day.
I actually have World of Goo on my iPad.
Okay. We have another thumbs up for World of Goo from the chat too.
So a really interesting documentary is about a man named Phil Fish. He created the game Fez that I mentioned earlier, and it's all about his experiences becoming a game designer and writing a story. And I will do some research to see where that's available. It might be on YouTube now. But his story is really interesting and it's really valuable. And I think there's a lot of information there for aspiring game designers. As far as what to be prepared for in creation and in writing and sort of the creative process. And I mean, he's a grown man, so it's, it's a little bit, there's context there of you guys being kids and having your family support. And so some of the challenges that he faced wouldn't necessarily be things that you would need to worry about right now. But if you are seriously interested in pursuing game development as a career, then his documentary is definitely one worth watching. I can see if I can find it.
I have an obsession with making D&D characters.
That's a good obsession to have.
I have an entire folder full of ones that I've made.
That's pretty awesome. I like to use D&D Beyond to keep track of all my characters.
Yeah.
I have 3 right now, but I'm trying to keep
3.
one of them alive. I'm trying to keep one of them alive before I go to my backup characters.
Yeah, I have 3 characters right now, but one of them's not really mine. It's my sister's, who's using it for a campaign that I'm DMing. Which
nice.
They're level 3.
So
I think
added, based on that, I just added characters into as a channel in game design. So if y'all want to just at some point share characters you don't mind sharing so that people can workshop off them, or if you want to add characters that you really want to add somewhere to get other people to comment on, then you can place that stuff there to build off of each other.
Cool.
Yeah, super cool. Let's see. I found the name of the movie. It's called Indie Game. It's all about this one man's journey to build an indie game.
Oh my god.
Huh? It's about 3 people. It's not just about Phil. Oh, okay. It's not just about Phil. But Phil Fish's story was the most memorable to me. But they're all really good stories. Yeah. I'm trying to find where you guys can watch it. Looks like it's on Prime Video.
So I'm going to open chat up beyond world building. Continue to ask your world building questions and think about those. But also, if you've poked into the Godot stuff, or if you're programming in Unity and you're similar to earlier, like if you think that you have a mechanic that would be interesting, but you just don't know how to get started with it, you're welcome to ask those kinds of questions now as well. And Aaron, I saw you just posted where. Did you just send me personally your link, or did you post it in the voice channel? Because I saw it pop up.
I thought I put it in
And
the
I couldn't
world
find it.
building channel.
Oh, world building. Perfect. There we go.
Yeah, but let me know if you guys can't see it, and I'll just send it to you directly, Liz, and then you can put it in the right spot.
Yep. Nope. It's totally there. I saw it pop
Okay,
it,
cool.
and then I couldn't figure out where it was.
Cool. And then I'll put a link to D&D Beyond in the characters. It's free. There, like, you can pay for like more access, but you don't necessarily need to if you're just getting started. And this is like a fun way to just like quickly roll out a character. And again, it's sort of like that getting those creative aspects in your brain moving, and then there's nothing to say like you have to continue doing it that same way. But it sort of helps with making an entire person.
Yeah, I think one of the better backstories that I've done was a sorcerer. I'm pretty sure it was shadow magic. It was just I just found it a really interesting character. And we didn't really get to play with it because yeah, but like but I think I kind of brought some aspects of it over into my newest character, which is kind of like there's supposed to be a scythe person, wields a scythe, but I think I have a scythe. I'm pretty sure I have my scythe, but
Mhm.
it's actually a glaive, but that doesn't matter. Same thing.
I've heard of some campaigns where people have been playing the same game for like 20 years. And their characters just keep leveling up and keep growing. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I plan on bringing my players up to level 20.
That's awesome.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't planned up to level 5 so far, so.
I played Dark Crusade with some of my friends, and we got to the level cap, and so we started playing the Ascended book, which is just for when you've reached the level cap and you still want to go more.
That's
and you
awesome.
are pretty much gods at that point, but
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun too. Like
The latest thing that's happened is that the rest of my party jumped me and forced me to have a soul again.
Oh no. I hope that's a good thing.
Yeah, because it's a good thing from a player perspective. My character didn't want it to happen, but me as a player did, because I had lost my soul and become a killing machine.
Oh,
and they were like, no, forcible soul. No, become a good person again, please.
We have chat comment of, I would not have had the patience, I think, to play a 20-year game of D&D, and I fully agree.
Yeah.
My attention span is not that long.
I think
If
they
it's a good
like
story, mine is.
Go ahead.
I kind of stayed up past midnight reading book. I read way too much and way too fast.
I think that
I
they
do a similar thing where I
there must be a lag. You guys go ahead.
I do a similar thing where if I find a good TV show, I'll just watch it all at once. I watched all of Demon Slayer yesterday. Like all 9 hours of it.
As I said, no patience for a 20-year game.
Definitely.
They like added side quests. I feel like they had to like D&D just released a whole bunch of side quests that are you just keep incorporating new story into the same campaign, and I think that's what keeps it going for years and years.
My campaign is actually kind of based off a Minecraft server that it's been heavily modified. It's not actual mods though, so like you just need a vanilla account. But it's called Windcraft, and it's just really fun to play through. It is an RPG thing. So
Sounds super fun.
So any other gaming questions, thoughts? So we can easily wrap up now, and that is fine, but I will stick around if anyone has any more questions about getting started. If you are interested in the programming aspect of game design, I strongly suggest, even if you really want to do the side scroller stuff, that you take a look at the documentation for the lessons for the RPG tutorial, because it's a high school kid who filmed the tutorials, and I've gone through and pulled out the code for you and updated things for Godot 3.1 so that it all works and everything, and you don't have to type things out. But specifically, I recommend following through those tutorials simply because they talk a lot about game mechanics and setting things up for future usage, and creating different classes that are useful. I haven't found nearly such a good set of tutorials for side scrollers. And so I will be creating some side scroller tutorials and everything like that. But the RPG tutorials still really set everything up in a very nice way to make sense moving forward. So if you are interested in that aspect, go ahead and get started with it and start watching and building and playing, and then start thinking about kind of what worlds you want to have, what characters you want to have. Next week, our speaker is a friend of mine who works in the game design world. He has worked on a couple of big titles whose names are suddenly elusive to me, even though I posted the picture here in the welcome channel. There we go. So he's worked on like Borderlands 3 and Mortal Kombat and Stranglehold and stuff like that. And he's going to come chat about what it means to work in game design as a career and what that workflow looks like and how all of the interaction looks like in the company. So come with your questions for him about what all that stuff looks like. And now I'm going to stop talking for a minute so that anyone who's thought of things they want to ask or say has a moment to do that.